Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast. And today I have Annelise Worn on, and she is from Melbourne, Australia. And Annelise is a CEO, business strategist, marketing mentor, speaker, and mother of three little ones. And Annelise found herself getting asked for business and marketing advice from women who wanted more freedom in business and life, but didn't know how to translate that into a viable business model and be able to take it to the world. So determined to provide a way for small business owners to get affordable access to expert marketers, she founded the Marketing Mentor Program in 2019. And Annelise supports women to transform their business, to discover the profit and freedom they started it to achieve. Her true passion lies in developing and implementing effective, efficient, high-converting marketing strategies that actually move the needle. So welcome to the show, Annelise.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I gave you a brief introduction there, but why don't you tell us a bit about your story and how you ended up on this journey of helping small business owners?
Sure, I would love to. So as I started a marketing agency with my husband 3.5 years ago because we were living and working in the city and we wanted to move back down to the coast where we were from, but that would have meant a 2-hour commute each way, and with little kids they would have been asleep when I left and probably asleep when I got home, and so that wasn't what I wanted. And we wanted to build a house, and my husband was a carpenter. So he retrained as a web developer so that he could build our house during the day, and he could work around that as well. And we started the agency working with tradies, like with construction, because that was his area of expertise, and that's what we wanted to niche down. And then, as you mentioned, that was going well, and I was speaking to other mums who wanted what we had, which was a business from home, working around the kids. And so I started mentoring them in a really informal capacity, and teaching them how to DIY their own Facebook ads and things like that, because the business models that they wanted were smaller scale, that it just didn't make paying someone viable. And this is something that you can learn to do yourself if you're willing to figure it out. And so it started there, and now it's become a more formal thing. We don't just work with mums. It's expanded again because more people want it in. So it's small business owners who want to DIY their own marketing, and they get access to the marketing agency team for support. And I love it. I love it so much because it's helping the people that I really want to help. And we found a model that works both from a financial level in terms of providing the service, but also from their perspective, they get the help that they need. So I love it.
And I love that you created that model, because you are right. Like, me as a small business owner, right? I've looked into it. I don't have the thousands and thousands of dollars a month that most social media companies want, to do advertising and that. And many times, like they've told, it's going to take 3 months before we really start to see tremendous results, because we got to do all the testing and everything. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm paying you all this money, I'm paying for the ads, and I might not see results for a few months. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, that's not something that most small businesses can do.
It's not. And especially the women I was speaking to just wanted an extra, $500 or $1,000 a week to help their families. They didn't want to run an empire. They just didn't want to take their child to daycare and go to work every day for, in a job they didn't love. So yeah, it's nice that this is a middle ground.
So I know you've come prepared today to talk to us about understanding the buyer's journey. And when I first started learning about this, it was like I was having aha moments after aha moments, because I realized that once I could see where people were at in the journey, I could predict where they were going to go next. And it made the process of selling products and services easier. I didn't have to fumble around anymore because I knew where they were going to go.
Mm. Yeah, and we can guide them to where we want to. And most people, most small business owners coming into this, they're in exactly the same spot because you're great at your thing, you're great at your area of expertise, and then when you decide to run your own business through that, then you need to learn all of these new skills. All of a sudden it's like you're probably not an expert in finance, you're probably not an expert in, you know, in leadership and management and marketing. It's a whole new ball game that you have to learn. So
Well,
yeah,
and
I'd love to dig in.
I think the biggest one is sales. You know, people go into this entrepreneurial journey and they don't realize that, you know, a big part of that journey in the beginning until you can make enough money to hire somebody is you've got to sell.
Mm.
If you
Yeah,
can't
you
sell,
do.
you don't have anything else. So, you know, that's
Mm.
one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show today is, you know, is to explain about that buyer's journey. And, you know, that would help, you know, the entrepreneurs who are listening to this to really be able to take their businesses forward.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, let's dig in. So the buyer's journey, you might have heard of the funnel, you know, having a marketing funnel.
Mm-hmm.
And the point of the marketing funnel is to lead people electronically, usually through the buyer's journey. And so there's 5 stages, and we'll concentrate on four of them today. So before someone can buy your product and become a lifelong devotee customer of yours, they need to know who you are. They need to be aware that you exist. So that's challenge number 1. From there, we need to get them interested, because just because you're aware of something doesn't mean you're interested. For example, I am aware of company like prescription glasses companies, but I'm not interested because that's not me. I don't need prescription glasses. Same, I'm aware of Gucci, but I'm not particularly interested. So we need to get them interested after they become aware.
Mm-hmm.
The next point is desire. We need to make them not just interested, but we make them really want what we have to offer. And then from desire, we want them to take action. And after action, you'd think that would be the last step, but we want them to refer. We want to bring it full circle, because the people that get referred to us are going to have a lot higher conversion rate because they trust their friend or that person. And so that for us in the agency, our referral conversion rate is about 90%. Or maybe even more. And so that we want to include that in the piece, mm-hmm. in our plan. And so when you're thinking about marketing, what I find with a lot of new clients is that they come on board and they just have an ad, or they're just sending emails going, look, I got my book here, buy this, or here's my product, or here's my program, because they know the value of it, and they know it can help people. Yeah. And they think, of course, everyone else should want of course I'm the best graphic designer out there, and and everyone should want to work with me, and of course this. But your prospects, your potential clients or customers are in a different place than you. And so they are going about their world not being even aware of you yet, with their own set of beliefs about your industry, with their own set of experiences coming in. For example, I'm in marketing. We don't have the greatest rep because it's a low barrier to entry. Anyone can call themselves a marketer and not have to, do any courses. The courses that I did, like I've got a degree in marketing, but things change so quickly that you can't have a degree. Like it's basically useless. It's the psychology side, but it has nothing to do with the digital space. And I finished it 10 years ago. So you can anyone can, who owns a laptop, could be a 17-year-old in their grandma's basement, kind of calling themselves saying they have a marketing agency. And so people are coming into this space not very trusting of marketing people, not very, thinking it's going to be really expensive, thinking I'm not going to get results for, like you said, for months, or seeing these really shiny Lamborghini photos and going, great, in 1 month's time, I can earn 80K a month. and so I'm going to, and that's just where people are coming from. So you need to think about, in your industry and in your space, where are your prospects at before they know about you? And then where do they need to be in terms of headspace in order to say yes to you and your products or services? Because they're probably going to be two different places, but you need to use your content and your marketing to lead them down there. And if they're thinking, oh, marketers are all a joke, they just want my money, they're not, no one's going to get me results, they're all talk. And I'm going, I can, come over here, buy my thing. It's just going to fall totally flat. No one's going to buy it. And so but then people get surprised that no one bought their thing. So we need to warm people up. It's been said, and I don't know by who, I really need to look this up, that marketing, you need to think about marketing like a first date. If you talk all about yourself on the first date, you're not going to get that second date.
Yes.
And
you only get one chance most times.
Yeah, exactly. And we love to buy. We're very consumerist. We love to buy, but we don't like to be sold to. And so if we just see an ad that is totally salesy and I don't know anything else, I'm very unlikely to respond. And most people are like that. And so how do we make them aware of us without selling? Then, well, you need to give them something. You need to give them something that they want. And so again, digging into who is that customer? What is that need that I solve? What is that problem? And how can I begin to lead them down the pathway to be going to say yes to my product? What do they need to think and know and believe about me in order to say yes? Well, like in my case, people need to know that I'm authority in the space, that I actually know what I'm talking about, that other people trust me. They need to know that I can get people results, so I need to show proof of that. They need to show that I'm relatable, that I'm transparent. Do you know what I mean? And those things are going to be different for every single person. So think about what those things are for you. In order to buy your thing, your product, your service, whatever it is, what do they need to know and think and believe about you in order to totally give you the money, be like, yes, take my money, I want to work with you? Where do they need to be in that headspace?
Yes.
What is that? And how do we lead them down that path? How do we lead the breadcrumbs there? So we're going to start with something. You're going to think about what your offer is, and then you're going to think about what's the first step, what's the first shift in mindset that they need in order to be willing to accept this offer. And that might be, it's going to be something that's not talking about you. A lot of people are really tempted here to tell their story, and please don't. Again, we don't want to be talking about us. We want to be talking about the customer. So it can just be something really short, sharp, valuable. So how to do this, 5 tips for this. And you don't need to have this behind an email either. Just give them something for free. Yeah. Here's a link to, when we're running ads, often this is a link to a blog post that's on your website. So some that we did this week was 5 tips to get your child to wear glasses. And they're a child's glasses company, but they weren't spruiking products. They were just saying, here's 5 tips to get your child to wear glasses. Yeah. Another one we did this week was about why townhouses are gaining popularity in Melbourne. And this was a townhouse development builder. So think about just something really, really easy. You're not asking much, but you're offering value to your customer with a problem that they have. When they see the headline pop up, they're like, oh, that's interesting. Like, how can I reduce my waste? Perfect. I want to know that. How can I make my baby sleep better? Oh, I need to know that. Like, think about that thing, that juicy carrot that's going to make them click. And then we can start to introduce ourselves. So how we do this, you can do this in a paid capacity or not. So I'll talk about ads. Because those people have been to your website, you can have a Facebook pixel on your website that then knows who's been there, and you can show just the people that have been to your website your offer or something to do with you, where you're going to get their email address or they're going to buy something that's not very high value. And you're only going to be showing that ad then, that conversion ad, to people who are, because they've been to your website to read the thing, they're your market because they were interested in that article about, their child wearing glasses. So only parents who have children who wear glasses are going to be reading that. Other people are not going to be interested, so they're not going to be there. So when you present your next round, that next step closer, and you start to introduce who you are and what you do, then you're only showing it to people in your market. So one, you're saving money. Two, they're not annoyed because they've already received something from you and they know who you are. So is that all making sense so far?
Yeah, it is. The one thing I did want to add though, like maybe not in ads, but there are ways of telling your story where it actually becomes about the person listening.
Yeah.
So when you tell like when I talk about my story, I call it the power of words. And I talk about how a teacher, in grade 2 told me that I was a horrible writer and I shouldn't write. And, I carried those words around for 30 years. I didn't write, and then how I went from there to writing blog posts and books and now a publisher. But in that story, I talk about throughout the story, how letting go of those words changed my life, and how, if you can let go of those words that have been spoken over you, it could change your life. So it becomes a message about empowering them.
Yeah.
To let go of the words that have been spoken over them.
Yeah, that's a fantastic example. And you're right that the focus is on the customer. So could definitely work, if you want that proof that the concept is viable. And so if you are that proof, fantastic, because then you are that ultimate authority. You haven't just done it for someone else. The example is in your life. And as long as you're not like, I think it's Marie Forleo who uses the flashlight example, where like, is the flashlight pointing at you when you're telling this story, or is it is the flashlight pointing at your customer? Yeah. And this should be the case even on your website. Every bit of content, your About Us page still shouldn't be talking about you. Like,
it
yes,
should
you're
be
going to be talking about
the
you.
person reading it.
Yeah, because it is like, it's your website. So people like, oh, I have this much experience. I have this, I work in these areas, and that's great. But they're going, well, what's in it for me? Like, we have,
they read 3 lines and go blah, 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 blah. And they don't even read it.
They don't read it until you hook them in and you go, we have, like, for example, with our builders, you can say, we have created homes for this many families. Do you know what I mean? Then you're talking about what you've done, but you're not talking about, look at how great I am. I'm standing up here having a spiel about me because nobody cares. Like, it sounds very, very blunt, but they don't care because they don't know you yet. Once you've built that know, like, and trust, then they will be like onto every word, but you need to earn that.
Well, and even in your About You, like a constructor, a construction company, could even start their About Us, like, are you dreaming about that home, and that in quotes, right? And so, there's ways of doing it where you hook the person in, and then throughout, you're talking little bits about yourself here and there, but they're more like social proof that you can do what you say. And you take this, you take this person in your About You, even on this journey, and you can talk about how, you struggled with this, but now, here's what you found. And, I remember what it felt like when I was able to build my first dream home. Right. And so you bring them on this journey. So your about you becomes even like a selling page. Not that you sell anything on the page, but it's a social proof page.
Yeah, it's a social proof page. You ask, everything is selling, everything. Yes. Everything in marketing, we want to paint that picture of where they are now, and we want to highlight that, and that pain and that frustration of where they're in. We want to talk about that so that they become present with that while they're thinking about you. And then we want to paint the picture of what it could be, and how and where we're going to lead them to. But we don't want to talk about how we do that. We want to talk about where they are and where they want to be, so point A and point B. But they don't recognize the bridge as the bridge, because if they did, they would have already taken the bridge. And so if you're talking all about your program or your book or your product, your service, they're not going to recognize that as the thing. They're not going to recognize that as the ultimate solution. But they will connect, like with what you said, with where they are versus where they want to be. And so all of our language should be around that. And everything from social media to ads to emails to website content should be leaving those breadcrumbs. And again, thinking, what do they need to know and think and believe about me in order to say yes? And you're leaving those breadcrumbs through everything, leading them down that buyer journey the whole way. And different areas, so awareness, interest, desire, they're going to have different platforms, because likely they're going to start and become aware of you on social media. Depending on what you have, they might become aware of you via Google ads or search. And then from there, you're going to hopefully get them on your email list. They're going to actually follow you on social media. Maybe they'll join your Facebook group. Maybe they'll come on a consultation call. But they're getting deeper and deeper. They're getting closer and closer in to you, so that by the time that you actually present your high value offer or whatever it is that you're presenting, then it's just the natural next step, because they've been taking steps down the buyer journey towards you the entire time without feeling sold to.
Yeah, very true, very true.
And I can tell you're good with words. when you were talking about the About Us page.
Well,
I can tell you're very
good.
Why
I'm called the word ninja.
Yeah.
But and that's a critical thing when you look at your marketing, is the value of the words that you use. And sometimes, you don't want to say the same thing that everybody else is saying. Or if you do, you want to change it. So one of the things that we talk about in RTI publishing is using delicious words.
Yes, words are everything. I actually did a live on this yesterday, explaining that the images in your marketing, the only point that they actually have, and of course there's exceptions to every rule, so hopefully I don't get emails here, but the whole point of the image, the purpose of the image, is to get their attention long enough to stop them scrolling and get them to read what you have written, which is the thing that makes the emotional connection.
Yes.
So you are so right. And I think that point also in differentiation is going to become more and more important. It's already very important, but I think it's only going to become more so with, again, that low barrier to entry with online marketing, and the fact that we are where we are in terms of like the current climate. More people are coming online and starting online businesses, and that's going to happen. But it doesn't mean that it has to be, we have to get scared that there's now going to be 10 times more, marketers, graphic designers, whatever it is, because it just means that we all have to get more specialized and differentiate ourselves and use that different language. And and the more specialized we get, the higher that we can charge, the more in demand that we will be. But we will that language that will be more important than ever, because that's how we communicate that how we are different and what our values are and why we do it our way. And I was speaking to someone else, Suze Chadwick. I was on a podcast, and she says you have to pick the hill that you want to die on, and just yell. And what is that hill? What's the thing that you want to be known for? What is that thing that you talk about? And then, you know, I'm not an expert at words. I'm okay, but I'm definitely not a word ninja, and so we definitely need to get ourselves word ninjas so that we can really communicate those values and that differentiation really well.
Well, you know, one of the things I've learned, especially in social media, is you have to be quick and concise and to the point. You know, if your post is rambling, you're going to lose them. And so, you know, I want to introduce you to my friend called Thesaurus, because there are many times when, you know, you use 3 words to describe something that if you looked up in the thesaurus, you'd find the one perfect word. You know, like instead of I was sad at the death of my aunt, you know, I'm grieving. Right? So, you know, you can take and get more precise in what you're saying, the more likely you are someone to continue reading that post. And the other thing, I don't even remember who I was talking to about this, but this week was, you know, how are you doing that market research? So one of the things that I recommended was get on the Facebook groups where your target market is and listen to the words that they're using.
So yes.
Right? And like
yes.
even chart it out. You know, go through and, you know, even make a post, you know, asking people about their problems, or read through the posts and look at how people comment on what they're experiencing and the words that are using, and try to find those common words. Because if you use those words, you will quickly achieve the know, like, and trust factor because you're speaking their language.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's something that I recommend to my clients, because as I was saying, you need to talk about where they're at now, and you need to talk about where they're at now using their language so that they recognize that as going, yes, that's me. She is inside my head, or he is inside my head. And they go, oh, this is the person that I need to be working with, or I need what they've got because they understand me. They know how I feel. They get it. Either they've been there or they're working with people who are there. And so, yes, I could not agree more. And back to your point about selling, this is what will help your sales skyrocket, is when you are talking to someone on a consultation call, if you just use their words back to them when they were talking about the issues, your conversion rate will go through the roof, because then they're reminded about how they felt. So even like some people do a 2-call system where they'll do a discovery call and then they'll do a sales call, like the solution. So whatever they said in that first call needs to be written down, the actual words, so that when you're presenting your solution, you're saying, and this is here because we don't want you to do, feel like this, or because you feel like that, we've put this in here. And then they're going, oh yeah, I do feel like, and they're making the connection so much more.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm glad you're on the bandwagon too.
I spent many years in direct marketing, like direct sales.
Yeah.
And I was selling cosmetic products. And, so most of my customers, I only talked to maybe 3 or 4 times a year, because that's how long the products would last for.
Yeah.
And every time I talked to them, if they told me something, I would write it down. So, like maybe one client or customer, her cat had passed away. I would write that down. So
So
any little
smart.
things like that that they would tell me, I would note on their file. And then the next time I called them, I'd say, "Hey, Mary, how are you doing?" Da, da, da. I'm like, I'm just wondering, I know the last time we chat, you were telling me about your cat passing. And, I was just thinking about you and wondering, how are you doing with that? Is it still rough? Are you still missing, and use the animal's name? And because I did that, when I got to the sales part, they're just like, "Yeah, Kim, order me this, this, and this." And I'd say, "Have you thought of this product?" And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, can you add that too?" And we were done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I listened and I
You
took
listened.
notes.
Yeah. And I've been, there's a couple of clients I've been working with for a few months now. And in the conversations that we were having this week, that's coming through. I had one client was telling me she had 4 consultation calls, and she converted 3 of them because they already wanted to work with her. And why did they already want to work with her? Because she had done her content right. She had worked them through the buyer journey, that they were ready. They already knew what she was about. They already knew that what she could offer. They didn't care about what the price was. They just wanted that solution. So yes, just listen to their words, make sure that you use them back, work them down the buyer journey before you present your shiny offer. Make sure that people get a chance to get to know who you are, what you're about, or what your business is about, your product or service is. And then you don't have to sell because you've already done your selling. It's just about asking the question, like you were explaining just then, and they're done. There's no objections. Because they already know what they want.
Yeah. And I think the thing is too, is I think sometimes we make selling too difficult.
Yeah. We put it in the scary car salesman category without, yeah, we do.
So we get to that point and we're afraid to ask the question. And I've just come to the point, if the conversation is going really well, and things are being checked off and all that, I just kind of assume the sale, not in a aggressive way, but, the question is, how do you want to move forward? Right? That's a great question. How do you want to move forward?
Yeah.
Because you're not assuming anything.
Yeah. And the ball's in their court.
Yeah. And they're like, "Well, let's get the book started." Okay. Right? Yeah. Like, if I say, how do you want to move forward? And, they're hesitant or things, then we can explore it a bit more and I can find out, maybe what's going on. Maybe it's a financial issue, and, so like, even if sometimes people say, "Well, I'm not sure if I have the money." Okay. So is it that you really don't have the money, or you just need the right kind of payment plan to be able to afford this?
Yeah. Or you need to believe in yourself enough that you don't think of it as spending the money, but you think of it as like the logical next step towards what you actually want to achieve for yourself.
Yeah. But sometimes people are afraid to ask for things.
They are, yeah.
So, by me saying, "Okay, is it really that you just don't have the money? And if you don't, that's okay. Or is it that we just need to work out a payment plan that works for you?"
Yeah.
And most times, I've already done my pre-work and all that. So most times I know it's just, they just need a payment plan. And they don't want to say that to me because they assume they have to pay for the whole thing up front, which they don't, because I have payment plans. Right.
Yeah.
But by saying that to them, they're like, "Oh, you have payment plans?" "Yeah, of course I have payment plans. We will customize a payment plan that's perfect for you." And then it's like the door is wide open and we go through, right? So you can't be afraid to ask those kinds of questions either.
Yeah. I remember the first time I was selling the marketing mentor program, I was terrified and I was shaking because I did a live workshop, and then at the end I was selling, and I knew I was going to be selling, and all of a sudden my body started to shut down. I know my voice, but I was like, I keep going, you've put in the work, keep going. And it was great. And the response was fantastic. But I so understand that feeling. And I think it comes back to remembering why you're doing it, remembering how valuable it is to the person. And if you have that great solution for them, then you're actually robbing them of the chance to experience that success if you don't offer your thing.
Yes.
In whatever area it is. So so for me, that reminder that it was actually, yes, it was benefiting me because I was selling something, but the whole point of the product was to be of service.
Yes.
Then aligning back with that helps to just say the words. And the more you say the words, then the easier it becomes. The easier, but you have to break through that. For me, at least, I had to break through the barrier of going, no, people want this. They're here. They've been hanging around with me for 5 days. They'd like it. So this is how you can work with us.
So we are pretty well just about out of time, Annelise. How can
Perfect.
People connect with you?
So I have a group on Facebook, the Social Marketing Method. So you can come and find me there, or otherwise everything's on anneliseworn.com.
Okay. So Annelise, Annelise, capital WORN. So Annelise, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been Annelise Worn and Kim Thompson-Pinder on the Author to Authority podcast. If you've been enjoying this show, don't forget to subscribe. We come to you twice weekly on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you do not want to miss an episode. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on the very next show. Bye now.
Bye-bye.